The date is April 17th, 1863. You are a young private in Major General Richard Taylor's Army of Western Louisiana. Before this week, you haven't experienced much fighting, but in the last 5 days you've seen your share. And you've done more than your share of marching too, days and nights, all the while being closely pursued by them damn Yankees. But despite 2 battles and 2 losses at Fort Bisland and Irish Bend, and a few other close calls, Taylor's army has been able to slip away each time, avoiding capture by those Union dogs and their leader, Major General Nathaniel Banks. But it looks like there's going to be another fight today. It was a beautiful red and purple sunrise this morning when you and the rest of your regiment arrived here at the Pinhook Bridge, which crosses Bayou Vermilion, leading into the small town of Vermilionville. As you look out over miles of sunny crop fields and farmland, you have no way of knowing that in just over 100 years, this sleepy little village attached to General Mouton's family plantation will grow into a bustling, thriving metropolis called Lafayette, the hub city of Louisiana. What you do know right now is that you hope this cat-and-mouse game that General Taylor is playing with General Banks pays off in the end, by delaying Banks' army enough to somehow prevent him from capturing Port Hudson north of Baton Rouge. Farragut already took New Orleans and Baton Rouge last year, so if Grant captures Vicksburg and Banks takes Port Hudson, the last Confederate strongholds on the river, the Mississippi will be totally under the control of the United States, and western Louisiana and Texas will effectively be cut off from the rest of the Confederacy. But Banks' troops that have been chasing you and your brothers in arms for days and many miles across marshlands, wooded trails, and dirt roads have no way of suspecting that they are marching headlong into a trap. You wipe your brow. The swampy South Louisiana heat is bad enough without adding to it the fierceness of the blistering hot air radiating from the fire you've been tending. The last of the Confederate wagons creaks across the bridge. You notice Colonel Tom Green waving in the rest of the cavalrymen of the 5th Texas Mounted Rifles. From far off you hear the familiar rhythmic rat-a-tat of the snares and the whistle of the fife, and you squint to notice the approaching Union regiments marching in your direction. From this distance they look like fleas, and you tell that to the man next to you, joking that it looks like there are more than you'd find on an old stray coon dog in the middle of July. He pauses and chuckles, and you both bring your attention back to the fire. As you blink to readjust your sight, you wonder what is burning your eyes more, the sweat pouring from your forehead, the smoke from your fire, or the fumes from the turpentine you and a few other soldiers doused the bridge with a short while ago. As the enemy draws nearer, you can now make out the song their steps are timed to. It's that damn Yankee Doodle. Just then, as Colonel Green and his men gallop across the bridge, he yells out the command, "Burn it down!" As ordered, you and your assistant begin shoveling the burning coals onto the wooden platform of the bridge. At first, the red-hot embers smolder and smoke, then suddenly a plank ignites, and before long, the entire structure is ablaze. The towering flames lick the sky, and thank God the sound drowns out that stupid song. Wiping the sweat from your brow again, you smile and say to yourself, "Ain't no Yanks crossing this bayou today." The Battle of Pinhook Bridge was won in a series of 3 battles in South Louisiana in early 1863, in which Major General Nathaniel P. Banks' Department of the Gulf 19th Corps faced off against the considerably smaller and less equipped Army of Western Louisiana, led by Major General Richard Taylor, son of President Zachary Taylor. As General Taylor recalled in his book Destruction and Reconstruction, Personal Experiences of the Late War, published in 1879, Banks had 20,000 men for the field, while my force, including Green's Texans, would not exceed 2,700. With such an advantage, Banks, as he set out on his expedition from New Orleans to Port Hudson, was certain he would quickly capture and nullify Dick Taylor's entire army. Frustratingly, however, after narrowly escaping a solid defeat at Fort Bisland on April 12th, Taylor and his men mostly managed to stay 2 steps ahead of Banks. When a Union division commanded by Brigadier General Cuvier Grover finally did catch up to Taylor's troops at Bayou Vermilion, they witnessed the Pinhook Bridge bursting into flames that reached 30 feet high, and as they drew nearer to the bayou, they found themselves under attack from artillery. The opposite bank was the high ground, and Taylor made use of this strategic advantage by ordering that two 12-pound howitzers, along with a 6-pound gun, be stationed on a wooded bluff over the Vermilion. Grover then pulled his infantry back while calling forward Brigadier General William Dwight's 6th and 91st New York Regiments to skirmish, while two artillery batteries moved in to return fire from about 1,500 yards, just shy of a mile away. According to Maurice Raphael in his book, The Battle in the Bayou Country, the Battle of Vermilion Bridge lasted for about 4 hours, with apparently no great loss in dead or wounded on either side. Taylor had sent most of his troops and wagon train ahead to Opelousas, so once he felt confident that they were a safe distance away, he ordered the remaining men to pick up the wounded and fall back out of the Union's range to rest. At this point, Raphael's account states that Taylor and the last of his troops continued their retreat to Opelousas at noon, while other accounts say he slipped away that night under cover of darkness. Today, Pinhook Road in Lafayette, Louisiana is a major source of transportation for locals, commuters, and visitors to the city alike. The current Pinhook Bridge, a 4-lane steel stringer, multi-beam, and concrete structure erected in 1981, is a far cry from the old wooden timber bridge that once crossed Bayou Vermilion in the exact same spot back in the early 1860s. According to the 2016 National Bridge Inventory Report found on bridgereports.com, an incredible average of over 43,000 vehicles cross this bridge every day. However, what most passerbys never take note of is the weather-worn brown metal sign to the right of the northbound lanes of traffic that is almost as obscure as the events it commemorates. Lost amongst the bridge signage and graffiti-tagged black and yellow guardrail markers, there stands a faded Louisiana State historical marker that reads, Bayou Vermilion, Battle of Pinhook Bridge, April 17, 1863. Battle of Bayou Vermilion, October 9, 1863. We honor the memory of those soldiers who valiantly fought on these banks. After having blindly passed this marker thousands of times myself, when I finally recently noticed it, I was intrigued by its mysteries, and as it occurred to me that the marker itself is a metaphor for the battles it memorializes, lost in plain sight, I knew I had to learn more. Historical markers are everywhere. In the future, when you are driving around, whether to work or school, to the grocery store, a friend's house, or wherever you might be going, pay attention to those historical markers that you may not have noticed before. When you find one, I challenge you to take a picture, and then in your free time, look up the event, location, or person referenced, and read at least one article or webpage about that topic. You will be amazed at the history that is lost in plain sight right in your hometown. As President Harry Truman once said, there is nothing new in the world except the history we do not know.
It's too late to turn back now. Burning bridges behind me. All I want is to forget you somehow.
Don't you